For millions of Australians, the day after Christmas isn't just about leftovers and hitting the sales. Nope, it's about the roar of a crowd, the crack of a bat. We are, of course, talking about the Boxing Day Test, a single cricket match that has somehow become this huge national obsession. But how exactly did one game become such an unshakable tradition? Well, that's what we're here to unpack.
You'd think it would be simple, right? Just, schedule a match on the same day every year and call it a day. But the real story here, the story of how this game became an institution, well, it's this winding road of happy accidents, a few arguments, and some really brilliant strategy.
Get a load of this number, 91,112 people. That is the record-breaking crowd that once packed into the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the MCG, for this one match. This isn't just about watching sports. For a lot of people, this is a pilgrimage.
So what is the Boxing Day Test today? Let's take a quick look at the tradition that pretty much captivates an entire nation every single year.
Okay, so at its core, it's a 5-day test match at the legendary MCG, and it always kicks off the day after Christmas. It pits Australia against a major touring nation, and honestly, for so many families, the sound of the commentary has become the official soundtrack to that post-Christmas food coma.
But here's the thing. Believe it or not, this beloved tradition wasn't planned at all. In fact, for decades, it barely even existed. Its origins are really a story of pure chance. Just look at this timeline. It reveals this really chaotic stop-start history. I mean, sure, Christmas cricket goes way back to the 1860s, but a proper test match on Boxing Day? That was just a one-off idea back in 1951, and then, poof, it vanished for over a decade. It only came back in 1974 out of pure scheduling necessity. This was no grand plan, that's for sure.
And those early matches, they weren't always a hit with the players themselves. For some of them, it meant missing Christmas with their families, much to the chagrin, as one source put it, of players who had to travel for the game.
So, if it was so inconsistent and, frankly, kind of unpopular with the players, what on earth changed? What was the big turning point that took this random fixture and turned it into a national tradition? The year 1980. That was the real dividing line. Before then, the match was basically a scheduling afterthought. But after 1980, it became this permanent, guaranteed annual event at the MCG. And this transformation, it was no accident. It was a very deliberate strategy.
It turns out 4 key things came together to make this happen. First, that 1974 schedule crunch brought the idea back from the dead. Then, in 1980, the cricket authorities finally made it official. At the exact same time, a major TV network snapped up the broadcast rights, which took it from a local event and turned it into a national spectacle. And finally, the city of Melbourne itself desperately needed a win. Its old-school manufacturing industries were fading, and the city was actively looking for major cultural and sporting events to reinvent itself. It was basically the perfect storm of scheduling, administration, media, and economics.
And that transformation has just kept going. The Boxing Day Test today, it's not just about the sport. It's evolved to carry this much deeper cultural and historical meaning.
In fact, in just the last few years, the event has woven this new, really deep layer of meaning into its fabric. The award for the match's best player was totally reimagined to honor a forgotten story from the very beginnings of Australian cricket.
So now, the player of the match receives the Mullug Medal. It's named for Johnny Mullug. He was the star player of the very first Australian sporting team to tour internationally, an all-Aboriginal cricket team from way back in 1868. By doing this, the modern event connects today's biggest stars with a powerful, pioneering legacy.
So what does it take to turn a simple game into lasting cultural heritage? Well, the story of the Boxing Day Test shows it's this powerful mix of things. A little bit of chance, a whole lot of smart strategy, and, maybe most importantly, a collective desire for a shared experience. It's a great reminder that the traditions we hold most dear are rarely just inherited. They are made.